Okay. Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me, very good. Good morning, Ousmane. Sabah al-khair, Shayma. Everybody, good morning. Okay. Are we recording? I'm not sure. Yes, we are recording. Very good. Okay. But before we start, I don't know why you couldn't send the answers. The questions I posted on Moodle. What you can and homework you have, which is one paragraph about today's text. Today's text is, as you know, Black Girl. Only, I don't know, is Shuruq al-Farra with us? Shuruq al-Farra managed to send, yes, Shuruq is with us. Shuruq, can you unmute? I want you to talk because Shuruq was the only one who managed to send an attachment. Check ya Shuruq.
Yes.
Good. So Shuruq was able to send an attachment. Was it difficult, yeah, Shuruq?
No.
It wasn't difficult. I don't know why everybody else found it difficult. So, okay, I will let go this time. I will forgive everybody. I will tolerate it today. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to write my university email address. Shuruq, you don't have to send again. You've already sent yours. And everybody else, you can send me only this time. You can send using my university, my work email, okay? Writing it, the chat section. Okay. So it's HHAid at Alaqsa Edupias. Okay. Shayma, you sent, did you send it as an attachment? Look, I saw those of you who have already sent answers in the body of the message, not an attachment. That's fine with me. But next time when I say attachment, I wanted an attachment on Moodle. Okay, on Moodle, exactly like what Shuruq did. Okay, and if I say 24 hours, that means 24 hours. After 24 hours, I usually don't read homework. So if you send Asala, it's okay. You sent it this morning, that's fine. But from now on, when I give you date and time, you have to stick to it. Okay? Right, but this time it's okay because this is the first experience that we have together. It's okay for me. So let's start. Let's start. Forget about the exams and all of
Can
that.
I ask?
Yes, sure. Go ahead. Who's talking?
Yes, Shuruq. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah. Yes, sure. Go ahead.
About the quiz. About the quiz that you post for
Yeah.
us. It doesn't work.
I understand that there was a problem. I understand that, and this is why I don't mind it at all if you send me the answers in the body of the message, Moodle. Okay? Send me the answers as a message. It's fine. I understand there was a problem. I'm trying to sort it out.
I sent them.
Yes, I saw that. I saw your name there, and yes, most of you who usually attend have already sent me answers. From now on, we'll try to find an easier way. Okay, shall we start with okay, Shuruq finished?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Othman, you want to say something before we start?
No, you already.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Asala, you okay? Asala and Asil, you sent yours, yeah. Asala, can you hear me, Asala? All right. You need.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Good. Okay. Let's start now. Let's talk a little bit about. Okay, Black Girl. Black Girl by, as I told you last time, the name of the writer, and pay attention because everything I'm saying is important for you to understand the context of the story. You remember when we talked about the land of sad oranges? In the first lecture, we had to discuss the context within which the events of the story take place. And we said the context was Nakba, you remember? Nakba, and we defined the Nakba. We talked about colonialism, we talked about settler colonialism. Our story today, in our text, and notice we are studying comparative literature, all right? Comparative literature. The last one was, right, story written in English, in Arabic. Of course, we read the translation. Originally, it was written in Arabic by Ghassan Kanafani, Palestinian context, anti-colonial, against colonialism. In comparative terms, we are reading a similar story in terms of the context. This is a story about colonialism, taking place within the context of colonialism, and exactly like, like the last story, there are elements of resistance. So I want you to pay attention to what makes this story part of what we call resistance literature. Are we clear? Okay, I'm going to repeat again because as I told you, I know that most of you are interested. You want to learn something. And I know that you are interested in literature written about colonialism, and colonial literature, and about resistance for one simple reason, that we are Palestinians, but that's not the only reason. So here, we are going to have a deeper discussion in a way, a broader discussion about the concept of colonialism. And please pay attention. I want to make sure that every single student with me now understands what I'm saying. The relationship, pay attention, the relationship between colonialism and racism. Are we clear? Remember the definitions we wrote, a list of definitions we wrote last time? One of those terms that we kept using, but we did not elaborate on, was racism. Notice the title of this story, Black Girl. And by the way, Ousmane Sembene, writer, Ousmane Sembene, is also director, movie director. He was one of the most well-known African directors, international actually. One of his movies is Black Girl, based on this short story. It is available online, but if you want my recommendation, I wouldn't watch it until we finish reading the story. So try to hold a little bit. Sorry. until we finish discussing this story. Then when you watch the movie, you will enjoy it more. You will like it more. Believe me about this. Everybody understands, hey? So, yes, it is a movie. We'll wait a little bit, we'll not watch the movie. What we're gonna do when we finish reading and discussing this story, the same way we read and we discussed what you call it, The Land of Sad Oranges, detail, textual analysis, line by line, looking at the context, discussing racism, discussing colonialism, discussing resistance, discussing anti-colonialism. Then we will watch the movie. Okay. Okay. Please mute. Okay, the person who just entered, please mute. Okay, good. All right. So now, what I want to pay attention to, the first thing, to forget about the writer. I've already given you an idea. It's from Senegal. Senegal, Western Africa. Sorry, Western Africa. Senegal. It's a fascinating country, by the way. Read a little bit about Senegal. I've never been to Senegal. I wish I could. The capital city is Dakar. Senegal has a long history of anti-colonial resistance. What was the colonial power occupying, colonizing Senegal? Of course, France. France. So this story was originally written in French. It was originally written in French, right? Okay. The other story we read last time was originally written in Arabic. Don't forget, we are studying comparative literature. Later on, I will ask you to compare and contrast elements of resistance, elements of anti-colonialism, elements of colonialism, settler colonialism, and even the literature itself. So let's look at the title together. Very interestingly, the title is Black Girl. Black Girl. Two elements. Pay attention. Two elements. Black, that means the color of her skin. That is race. Race. We are talking about racial elements here. So what about this black girl? We will see. Black also, when I said race, also within the context of this story, refers to, black girl is an African girl, must be an African girl. We will prove that. But that's the first element. The first element is race. The second element, girl, gender, not black boy, right? Not black boy, girl. So we have two important ideological elements here. Two important ideological points. One, race, and the second one is gender. Now, the Land of Sad Oranges, if you remember, the Land of Sad Oranges, we said that the Land of Sad Oranges stands for something, which means it is a metaphor. It's a metaphor. Black girl, is it a metaphor for something, for an idea, for a place? The Land of Sad Oranges, some of you told me, if you remember, when we had this time, okay, pre-1948, before 1948, pre-colonial Palestine, yeah, that was the Land of Sad Oranges. Black girl. Notice we are still talking about the title. Look at this, because it is important. Elements of race, elements of gender are there. elements of resistance in the title? I don't know. I don't know. I have no answer because we have not read the story yet. Not yet. At the end, we might find an answer for this question. So at the beginning of every single text we read together, at the beginning we raise questions. Sometimes we can answer these questions by the end of the story. Sometimes we fail to answer these questions. Okay? We also raise hypotheses. Yeah, it can be about this, it can be about that. Like when we started reading The Land of Sad Oranges, we said it might be, about, occupied or colonized Palestine, and this is why the oranges were, remember when we read it, were sad, which means before 1948 the oranges were not sad. Okay? So we could answer that question. The beginning we couldn't. But after we read the story, yes, we had that ability to address those questions. So now, what does the title? What does Black Girl stand for? Who is this black girl? And why is her blackness in terms of race? Why is her blackness important? So important, so much so that it becomes the title of this important, very important story, by the way, very important story. In departments of African post-colonial and African literature, people teach it all the time. People watch that movie all the time. I know some of you are interested. Uthman, I know Uthman is interested because he was my student. And I know some of you girls are interested in this. So now we have element of race, we have element of gender. What about them? I don't know. What do they stand for? Allahu A'lam. Black girl stands for what? I have no idea. So let's start reading together. And don't forget the name of the writer. Don't forget the name of the writer. If you don't know how to write it, I can write it in the chat section later on. I don't know how to go there now. I think, all right, here. Okay. Okay, I wrote the name of the writer. Everybody can see it? No? Oh, no, sorry. Everyone, okay. Okay, Ousmane, of course, Ousmane al-Hato, your name, right? Ousmane Sembene. Okay? All right. Okay, can we start together now? All right. It was the morning, okay, beginnings. Notice, I'm not using the word introduction here. No, I always say beginning. Beginnings are important. By the way, one of the titles of Edward Said's, everybody has to know Edward Said's name, by the way. Edward Said, I will teach you something about Edward Said later on. One of the titles of his wonderful books is, notice this, okay, where can I find that again? Okay, Beginnings, okay? Okay, so every single title I mention of these meetings, every single title is important. You need to know it. So I might ask you this question. What's the name of the writer of what's the name of the writer of Beginnings? You'll have to say Edward Said. And if I say, okay, mention one of the titles of the books written by Edward Said, you can say Beginnings. All right. So let's look at the beginning together. It was the morning of the 23rd of June in the year of our Lord. Our Lord, of course, this is like, religious language. But used like the way we say inshallah, something like this. It's not that religious. It is used, commonly used. So it was the morning of the 23rd. Look at the date. 23rd of June in the year of our Lord, our Lord God, of course. 1958. So 1958, not long time ago. I think we had an internet problem. Can you hear me? Someone has to say
Yes.
yes. Okay. All right. Sorry about this. I don't know what happened. Let's go ahead. So it was the morning of the 23rd of June in the year of our Lord, 1958. So as I said, it was the middle of last century. Why is that important? Because that is the context. Give the point. That is the context. The context is the middle of last century. It was the time of. I'm sure you must have studied this in your history lessons. National liberation movements. The end, almost the end of British and French colonialism. Right, the middle of last century. Antibes is where's Antibes? In France. Antibes is a city in France, French city. Along the Riviera, of course, you know the Riviera, across France. Right. So Antibes, neither the fate of the French Republic. Okay. Notice politics and history right from the beginning. Notice this, politics, history, comparative literature, exactly like the land of sad oranges, right? Exactly like the land of sad oranges. Sorry, I have to accept people are joining. Okay. Right. So, history and politics. Antibes, a French city. Now he's referring to the fate. He said neither the fate of the French Republic, is something political happening at the time, but he's not talking about this. Neither the fate of the French Republic, nor the future of Algeria. We know very well that there was an anti-colonial revolution taking place in Algeria. All right. So he says, I'm not talking about that. The narrator. Who's the narrator? Allahu Alam. Who knows? An omniscient narrator. Omniscient, we know the word. Omniscient means unknown. Okay. Okay, I'm going to write it. So those of you who don't know. Omniscient narrator. All right. The omniscient narrator is a narrator that I don't know, is telling me that something happened at Antibes, had nothing to do with the fate of the French Republic, nor the future of Algeria, nor look at how many things he mentions. Look how many things. Nor the state of the colonial territories. Which colonial territories? Notice, if you listen to the Voice of Israel, Radio Makan, Television Makan, Voice of Israel, what do they call Gaza and the West Bank? They call them territories, مناطق المدارة, right? We call them the occupied territories, right? Occupied. There, at the time, in 1958, the narrator is referring to the colonial territories that were colonized by France. So he says, Antibes, neither the future of the French Republic, nor the future of Algeria, nor the state of the colonial territories reoccupied those who swarmed across the beaches below Croist. So the people who came to the beaches and were not thinking, those people who went to the beaches, they were not thinking about Algeria, the suffering of the Algerians. the Algerian Revolution, or about the future of their republic, or the colonial territories like Senegal and other countries colonized by France. So what were these French people, what were they thinking about? Let's see. Let's see. Here, right from the beginning, we have a very interesting beginning, talking or referring rather the political historical context. He said, no, I'm not going to talk about the French Republic. I'm not going to talk about Algeria. I'm not going to talk about the state of colonial territories. Of course, when you say I'm not going to talk about them, that means you are talking about them. You see the point? It's like me saying, okay, we will discuss the land of sad oranges. Okay, I'm not going to talk about the Nakba. Okay, so how can I understand? How can I understand the land of sad oranges without referring to the Nakba? Right? The same thing here. I mean, how can I understand this story without referring to French politics, without referring colonialism? Colonialism. You see the point? It's, if you want to say it's ironic, of course it is ironic. Okay. Above, what were those people going to the beach at the time at Antibes thinking about? Above the road leading to the Hermitage, obviously a neighborhood place there in that city. Two old style Citroens, car like Volvo, like BM, like Mercedes. Citroen is a very French brand, a very famous brand name. Cars. So two old style Citroen. Of course, the French police uses Citroens, by the way, Citroen car. So two old style Citroens, one behind the other, were moving up the mountain. Okay, so he's describing the scene. What we are dealing with now is the setting. You remember we discussed the setting in the land of sad oranges. Yafa, Ras Naqur, etc. Then we talked about Lebanon. We talked about the setting, land of sad oranges, Palestine, etc., etc. Because setting here, space and time. Space and time. Time, we already know that it is 1958. And now he's telling us about the place itself. But we will move between France and Senegal. You will see. So two cars were moving up the mountain, two old-style Citroens. They stopped and several men quickly got out, rushing down the gravel walk. These men walked very quickly toward the house on which a worn sign spelled out Villa of Green Happiness. Okay, that's the name of the villa house. But notice the name, and I want to draw your attention to the name because I want you to be able later on, when we finish the story, be able to talk about the irony of having such a name. Okay? But we have 10 minutes and I want to finish this page, at least. Villa of Green Happiness. So green and happiness. The men were the police chief of the town of Gasse. Of course, here we are talking about policemen. So the police chief of the town of Grasse, 1, 2 medical officer, and 2 police inspectors from Antibes, flanked by officers in uniform. So we have policemen, right? We have policemen. Why do we have policemen? I don't know. We still don't know. We will find out. And they are coming to this villa. The villa, the name of which is Villa of Green Happiness. Okay, that I know. There was nothing green about the Villa of Green Happiness. That's ironic. Right? There was nothing green. Was it happy? If there was nothing green, does that mean that it is happy? I don't know. We'll see. Except its name. Okay. Maybe the same thing applies to the word happiness. So it was not green, but was it happy? We'll see. The garden was kept in the French manner. Meaning what? The walks covered with gravel, the garden, set off by a couple of palm trees, palm trees with drooping fronds. Okay, a description of the place. So I have two palm trees. The chief, the police chief, of course, the chief looked closely at the house, his eyes stopping at the third window. So he looked at the house, third window, broken glass, the ladder. So there is broken glass, the window is broken, and there is a ladder, sulam, right? Okay. So does this tell me anything? Is there a crime? Possible? Possible? Why am I saying possible? Because I have a broken glass and I have policemen. And I have two police cars. Right? And I have a medical officer. Is there a crime? That's very, very possible. Probably. Inside where? Inside the villa. Inside where other inspectors and a photographer. Photographer for the media, maybe newspapers. That's possible. Is this description of a scene of crime? Very possible. What kind of crime? I still don't know. So inside were other inspectors and a photographer, three people who seem to be reporters. Notice, so I have police, that means authority, and I have media. Interesting, because there is always a relationship between authorities in general, governments, and mass media. So I have reporters, excuse me, three people who seem to be reporters, and I have the authorities, the policemen. We're looking with rather absent-minded interest at the African statues. Okay, interesting. So they were just looking. Are they really interested? Not very much absent-minded interest, but they're looking. Okay, absent-minded interested at what? African statues. مثيلة صغيرة, right? African statues, masks, animal skins, ostrich eggs, sit here and there. All of these are African items. Okay, this is important. Now, this is a metaphor stolen from the continent of Africa. This is a French villa, the name of which is Villa of Green Happiness. What does it have? Souvenirs for the decor inside, the decoration, etc. What you have here, you have African statues, masks, animal skins, ostrich eggs, all are from Africa, sit here and there. So there is a relationship between this villa, we will meet the owners of the villa in a minute, and Africa. What is this relationship? We will see. We know for a fact that France was colonial power in Africa, which colonized so many African and non-African, of course, countries. Of course, you know the story with Algeria, Senegal is one of them, Mauritania, Morocco, Tunisia, etc., d'Ivoire. So here we have a French villa with African items stolen from Africa. I'm using the verb steal, stolen, deliberately here. Later on, we will discuss that. We will find out why I'm using this verb. Entering the living room was like, look at this. Entering the living room was like violating the privacy of a hunter's lair, a place that belongs to a hunter. So this villa obviously belongs to a French hunter, colonial officer. We will find out. But here, this is a metaphor. This is a metaphor about the relationship between France. This paragraph, ya sabaya ya shabab, metaphor for the relationship between a colonial power, in this case, France, and colonized country. Here, let's say Africa as a continent. Later on, we will find out that we are referring specifically to Senegal. Senegal, of course, the country. What is the capital city of Senegal? As I said to you, you need to know that Dakar. The capital city is Dakar. I'm going to write it for you, ya Sabaya wa Shabab. Dakar. Senegal, next time, I want you to remind me, right? You have to remember this. At the beginning of our class, inshallah, on Saturday, today I will send you, tomorrow I'll send you the link. Today is what, Wednesday? All right, on Saturday, we have another class. The first thing, remind me to tell you something about Senegal. Why is Senegal important in terms of colonialism, slavery, etc.? All right? It will take just a couple of minutes because we are finishing now, giving me a warning. But what I want you to remember is that finish the first page, which is very important. As I said, the beginning is very important. The context is very important. 1958, Antibes in France, Villa of Green Happiness. And then a crime. Notice how many things. This is the first page. Crime. And then inside the house, there are African items, African statues, masks, animal skins, ostrich eggs. And then he said it was like entering, rather violating the privacy of hunter's lair. All of that is important for our understanding of the rest of the story. We will look at the details next time. Okay, so I'll see you on Saturday, inshallah, because we are finishing. We have only 1 minute, it is saying. And what I want from you, those of you who have not sent answers, I'm giving you one last chance. Write one paragraph about Black Girl, and then send me answers to the questions about the land of sad oranges in the body of the email. It usually gives you the possibility, the choice of sending it as an attachment. Shuruq did that, which means you can do it. I want you to send them as attachments. If